Few games offer the kind of long-lasting consequences that some story-driven titles do, like Mass Effect or Telltale's The Walking Dead, where your choices in the first game ripple through the sequels. But what if you could experience this in a grand strategy format? That's where Paradox Interactive comes in, and it's what makes a mega campaign so special to me. You can play through one game, transfer your save to the next, and continue the journey nearly seamlessly. Paradox excels in making complex grand strategy games that can feel overwhelming at first, but once you get the hang of them, they're incredibly rewarding. So what exactly is a mega campaign in Paradox games? Depending on how you look at it, it's either you guiding humanity through thousands of years of history or staring at a map and watching colors and numbers change. As for the games involved, you can start with Imperator Rome, transition to Crusader Kings III, then move on to Europa Universalis IV, followed by Victoria 3, and finally wrap it up with Hearts of Iron 4. If you're feeling ambitious, you can even stretch the timeline further by adding Stellaris into the mix. For this run, I kept it simple, sticking to Crusader Kings III, Europa Universalis IV, Victoria 3, and Hearts of Iron 4. Now you might be wondering, how good am I at these games? Well, I'd say I've mastered Crusader Kings III, I'm decent at Europa Universalis IV, I've dabbled in Victoria 3, and as for Hearts of Iron 4, let's just say my skills are getting worse as I go along. As you've seen, CK3 is the game I have the most experience with. It's also the one that is more story-driven than any of the other map starers. You play as a medieval lord and your goal is to try to spread your family far and wide. Seeing as it is the easiest one, for me, it also is the one with the most rules, which are as follows. Unlimited Black Plague. Didn't set this up right, so the plagues only popped once. Aggressive AI, not nearly as aggressive as I wanted it to be. Number 3, can't go above 60 county realm size. Just so that prevent us from blobbing too quickly, and then last have to switch to new lifestyle every character so that we then were able to experience different elements of the game rather than just doing the same lifestyle over and over again. As for our goals, we are trying to have 100 development in our capital plus 80 development in all our other lands. We're also striving for the nicknames Trollkiller, the Plump, and the Dragon. And last but not least, we're trying to knock off some achievements that we have yet to accomplish. For the setup, we started out as a count in Hungary under the Duke of Transylvania. This custom character had some interesting stats, plus being a part of the Kuru culture, allowing us to raid as a feudal lord. First things first, we got married to a genius Greek woman so that we could get the program online. Trying to produce the most intelligent, beautiful Herculean children of all time right now. Here we go. We had a son together who was named Bruce by chat. Finally, we got our wife to love us, but it seems like she might be lying about that. With our wife, and she for some reason gained the trait Deceitful. She's our lover for sure. She's just like, yeah, for sure, I love you so much. Next, we went to Constantinople to get really good at our martial trait. We had a second board rat. Definitely not going to disinherit this one. Once back in Transylvania, I decided it was time to move from count to duke, which means we just needed to politely but forcibly tell our liege that we needed his title. Now that we're duke, we can finally get around to having our cultural hybrid we want with Hungarian. The crusade was called for the kingdom of Bajalos, and being the good father I am, I disowned Rat so that he could be put on another throne. Death visited our house for our beloved wife, which started a blood feud with an offshoot of the Aprad family. After a long reign, it was decided to move on from Duke Michael in favor of his grandson. Helped the Empire of Rat with their continued expansion. Tired of helping out lesser members of the Bruce family. But worst of all, we got kink shamed by some random lord. Do we say yes? Do we give in to the kink shaming? Or do we let the world know that we are deviant? The same dude who definitely killed our previous king. A cousin of ours came to us with a story about his wife hooking up with her own uncle. So we proceeded to wipe out nearly the whole line of the Toulouse. Somehow then chat united as one and began begging me to make untoward advances with my lovely level 32 Stuart Gaston. Unfortunately for us all, Gaston died, which forced a period of silence for chat. After 2 days of streaming, our capital is sitting at a total of 60 development, making the most development in all of the lands. Due to staying at Duke or having ultra aggressive AI, our distant family members keep starting fights, and as house head, I'm stuck dealing with their rivals. Every few years, a new challenger pops up. What else happened today? We added Only the Strong to our culture, completed another legend, hosted a tourney that I may or may not have cheated at to win at least one of the events, had 2 characters die on us, one on purpose and the other Bobby B style. Finally, the Mongols showed up to the party early. Normally they spawn after 1200. This is the very first time I've seen them show up unannounced without having random spawn on. Valencia needed to be bailed out, but what else was new? In an attempt to destabilize France, we put our family member on the throne of France. In the end, it didn't do much but caused thousands of deaths. Finally decided to upgrade to a kingdom. This is how we commemorated the moment. That I was like, yeah, let's put it on for when we become a king. Maybe one of the reasons why I was putting off becoming a king so long, because this outfit is ridiculous. The Mongols came in and bopped Byzantium, which caused me to try and swear fealty, but the day we did it, Temujin died, so somehow the deal didn't go through. Started a crusade for Mongol-held Bulgaria, and another strange thing happened. We didn't get top participation, but still got a Bruce on the throne, which I could switch to play as. Must have been one of the several other Bruce families. We rounded out the day by killing the last Khan, causing the collapse of the Mongols. With our final day in Crusader Kings III, we had to set ourselves up for success, which came in the form of blowing up the Ilkhanate and Golden Horde, plus trying our darndest to position people of our house on other thrones that we could have a chance to usurp in EU4. We finally hit 100 dev in our capital, and it's too bright, you can't look at it, and also achieved some of the achievements from our list. Then everything changed when the plague spawned. All the hard-won development started evaporating. No! My beautiful development! Those people in our land survived the ravaging, and in the end, we only lost around 20 dev. Imagine what this map would have looked like if the game had unlimited plagues. Either way, 1300 marks the end of our run in CK3, and now we will convert the save to EU4. Though we didn't make it all the way to the end, it was still a very successful leg of our 4-part series. The goals and rules for EU4 were minimal, spreading out as much as possible because this would be the last opportunity before Hoi to do so. Don't have much faith in my Victoria 3 gameplay. I had a thought about taking over the HRE as Hungary has missions to be able to control the empire, but mostly it's just to become a big ass blob. First thing we did is get our ducks in a row with our estates. Get all the monarch points, steal the lands, and start our first mission. Renaissance traditionally spawns in Italy, but we have it on dynamic spawning, which means India got it this time. We dev pushed the innovation, making us the first in Europe to have it. We took exploration in an attempt to be on the scene in the New World before anyone else. Got a mission to start a colony in Brazil, so we decided that might be the best place to begin our colony. Declared on our biggest rival, Bavaria, in an attempt to weaken their position a little bit here at the beginning of the game. My goal was to take Wien for the great project that was there, plus anything else we could get and not cause too much aggressive expansion. On our 7th day of our Paradox mega campaign, we started stirring the pot with our former ally, Poland, doing everything we could to provoke them. We also captured Venice, aiming to expand into Italy, but that decision might have been premature. The aggressive expansion we accumulated, combined with Poland falling under a personal union, landed us in a massive coalition with much of Europe. Because of that, the game turned into a classic EU map staring session, making minor adjustments here and there. A bright spot was establishing our first colonial nation, New Brucylvania. However, the victory was overshadowed by a tragic end of the Bruce main family line. The Bruces are no more! Which ruled from 1066 to 1502. On the tech front, we once again led Europe by embracing the latest institution first. Meanwhile, more of Mexico steadily came under our control. When Sweden started getting bold, we put them in their place by seizing a large chunk of their territory in modern-day Poland. Our personal union with Bohemia paved the way to completing key missions, bringing us closer to controlling the Holy Roman Empire. But what if we decided to let the HRE crumble instead? Dismantling it became a breeze after defeating most of the electors and the emperor in a war just a year prior. In 1546, the Reformation finally made its appearance, which felt late compared to the usual early 1500s. Meanwhile, I couldn't help but wonder about Ming's influence in the East. With their access to more of the map than usual and the Renaissance sparking in their lands, it was both expected and shocking to discover that the Ming had already colonized the western coast of the United States. We aimed to form the Hungarian-Austrian Empire, but in doing so, we will need to shift away from our custom CK3 culture to Hungarian, with struggling to keep Goldland alive. I can't figure out how to manage this colony at all. Just as tensions were heating up between us and Ming, they had to go split into multiple states, probably due to the mandate of heaven. I used the Urbino cores to reclaim much of central Italy, bringing us closer to consolidating power there. We also finally embraced global trade institution, so it's time to dress the part.
Time for some trade, yes. Ooh, colonialism.
In our final hour, I realized it would be easy to take control of a significant portion of Alexandria trade node, and it went off without a hitch. But before wrapping up the day, I checked on Goldland one more time, only to have my day ruined. With our final day of EU4, things started to go off the rails. Kevin's hubris came through when he thought it would be a great idea to get a foothold in China, only to destroy 2 massive fleets that I sent there fleet-wise. At least we can afford to just rebuild a fleet in like 2 years' time. We started playing not to lose, trying to finish up small conquests around the map, but led to massive coalitions that were trying to sunder our empire. But all wasn't bad, and I finally embraced manufacturing. We also were informed that if we didn't build a huge amount of factories, now that Victoria 3 would be nearly unplayable. That led to me just spamming manufactories for the last couple of years. All in all, good job of blobbing out from starting out as just mere Hungary in EU4. That might come back to bite us in the butt for Victoria 3 though. Victoria 3 was one of those games that I was super excited for. Bought the Empire or Ultimate Edition, and then when it came out, I was instantly disappointed. Ever since, I've held a grudge against the game and have refused to play it more. So you can see out of the 4, I'm dreading this one the most. Instead of playing 5 days, we will only play 3, which makes sense because it is only 100 years versus hundreds of years of time. On the first day of Victoria 3, which also marks day 11 of our mega campaign for those following along, things went smoothly. Our main goal was to boost both literacy and GDP, and after 6 hours we accomplished just that. However, when I tried to reload the game later, the save file seemed to be stuck in 1847, despite being on Iron Man mode. So we did it all over again. This time we conquered even more territory, colonized a similar amount of both US and Africa, rebuilt the Suez Canal, and radicalized around 31 million people. Now every attempt at government reform sparks a revolution. On the bright side, we managed to raise our GDP from 46 million to 73 million, and our literacy rate from 56% to 62%. Day 12 in Victoria 3 took us from 1871 to 1907, and it became clear that our government needed serious reforms. I created the perfect storm once again. Every time we tried to pass legislation, the nation was ready to explode, leading to a season of revolts. The first rebellion went fine, but the second one resulted in a game over screen, which would have been disastrous if we still were on Iron Man mode. After that, I realized it might be smart to release some of the overseas vassals. That decision led to the creation of the nation of New Africa. We also fully annexed Bohemia, boosting our GDP but lowering our literacy rates. By the end of the day, we managed to transition into a republic and somehow pass the atheist state law without much resistance. So now, Hungary, a kingdom that has been Catholic since 1066, has changed drastically. Just wait until they discover I'm aiming to turn it into a communist state. Started the day off strong with a huge change to our government once again by becoming a council republic. Followed that up by sundering our society by allowing the women the right to vote. Somehow much more difficult to make happen than becoming an atheist state. Attempted to make the borders less gored, but nearly caused a world war over it. In the end, we were able to improve our country significantly, taking our meager 46 million GDP to 312, converting many of our peasant laborers into more diverse working class, kicking out the king and God in favor of our fellow comrades. What would Michael Bruce say about this nation all these years later? Would he cry or rejoice? Either way, it is time for our last step. With Hearts of Fire 4, we decided to get this done in one day instead of over the course of several. I invited some people from our Discord community to come play. That went as well as 4 versus 1 could have. At this point in the game, we have probably the most people and the most factories, which gives me a huge leg up on my competition. However, as I said in the intro, I'm pretty much a novice at this game, and these lads are veterans. We're about to start. We have Rat as Isbia, the Rat Empire for some of you. I have Autistic as the French. Great Britain is Janez, and Song is Hindustan. Things are fine in the first couple of years, each of us expanding and building up our infrastructure. I was asking a lot of questions. I don't know what those do, but I think they increase stuff. But again, the people who normally answer them are the ones trying to kick my butt. By 1938, things are at max world tension, and the boys had formed the Chat United Front. But before the main fight happens, there's a global war that I start by trying to clean up the last bit of Bavaria. So my regional war is turned into a global war. The very next year is when the main conflict begins. Stop training the planes. I'm trying to stop training planes. I didn't realize I was training planes. Declared on France to knock out one of the four. We got some early gains, but as soon as they naval invade into Italy, it was pretty much done. I mean, it's just that I'm bad at this game. Rolled over and watched my empire collapse before my eyes. One single tear rolling down my face as all my hard work was undone in minutes. So that's how our mega campaign went. 4 games over the course of 14 days, and a total of 60 hours of streaming. What did I learn from this experience? If I were to do it all over again, and I just might, there are definitely a few things I'd approach differently. First, I'd spend more time actually playing the games before starting the campaign. For example, I felt a bit lost with Victoria and Hearts of Iron, which is understandable since they're grand strategy games and can be quite intricate. While the game converters work well, they weren't perfect, and we had to use an earlier version of Victoria 3, which was unfortunate as the newer version has a lot more content. It's key to read through the forums because they provide specific insight, especially to better understand what converts between the games. We had a ton of development in Crusader Kings III, but not all of it transferred over. It would have made more sense to focus on aspects like culture or expansion. Another challenge was the lack of manufactories when moving from EU4 to Victoria 3, something I'd make sure to prepare even more next time. If I did do it all over, I'd also stretch out the timeline, maybe a month or two, rather than cramming everything into 14 days. But overall, I'm proud of what I accomplished. I generally enjoyed the process. However, I'll say this one thing for sure. I won't be jumping into a Hearts of Iron multiplayer again anytime soon. That's all I have for you. Thank you so very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, why not consider subscribing to the channel? If you want to support us monetarily, you can join our Patreon where we upload monthly videos. That's all I have for you. Thanks so very much for watching. Have a good rest of your day.